Alright again friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. This channel is dedicated to helping you get better at Bannerlord, and today we have another one of our custom battles. We are going to pit Britannia versus Sturgia and give the Sturgian forces considerably more infantry. This episode is how to destroy infantry. So you can see both sides has equal quality units and about the same sized army, and we are effectively going to use kiting to destroy this infantry block. Of course, Sturgians have excellent infantry, and one of the keys to destroying strong infantry is frankly to not let them reach your infantry until they've absorbed a whole bunch of arrows in the eyeball. That's always killed people throughout history, and you can do that on Bannerlord. So you can see we're setting up our 6th division is going to be a specialized division. Considering this sort of the easier version of how to destroy infantry, we will be sharing a sort of expert version of how to destroy, how to kite, how to destroy infantry with very few losses at a later point. But the 6th is going to be our only really unique division in this battle. To keep it somewhat simple, the 6th, as you can see, is a mix of archers and skirmishers. And how you get skirmishers by clicking the plus sign there, and you get if you click the plus sign and select shields and javelins, that puts most of the javelin units into that 6th division. This is how we're planning on setting up our attack. You can see the 4th Corps, that's archers. Those guys will be behind the infantry. The 1st is infantry, and then on the flank, we're going to flank with this 6th division, this specialized 6th division. So the idea here basically is the enemy's coming in at shield wall most of the time, especially because they have a huge infantry block, and you want to deny their shields the ability to protect their units. Of course, they're not wearing shields behind them and on their sides, and so we're going to flank with our specialized division here. I'm hoping these are the kind of episodes that even relatively brand new players will be able to just adapt and begin using in their large battles. What we're effectively going to try to do is hold the middle with our 1st division and then flank with this specialized 6th division. Flanking, of course, means attacking the enemy from the side. Now you can see I'm using 2 cav wings here. A lot of times people have just one. I like to have 2, both so I can attack with both of them if I so choose, but also I like to have 2 so that I can shield my 6th skirmishers here. Because I'm going to be pulling my skirmishers up on the side, up on our right flank, right if you were looking at the enemy, they're vulnerable to enemy cav. If enemy cav comes rushing in against this skirmisher division right here, these guys will be vulnerable. So this 3rd cav division is a shield wall. This is their offensive line, and these guys will be basically trying to intercept those cavalry right there. Those are the guys I'm concerned about. I need to limit how much damage those guys do. So we just open fire, right? You can keep everybody firing all the time if you want. Just know that you have the ability to turn off fire. In this case, I was strictly doing it to limit ammunition, how much ammunition we used, but you certainly don't have to do that. So you can see I'm moving the 1st infantry towards the enemy, but we're going to back them up when the enemy starts to get close, right? We're just we're baiting them right now with the idea that they can somehow get to our 1st division. Because all we're going to do now is start backing these guys up, move the whole line back, repositioning the horse on that side, and then moving the archers back as well. And what happens as the enemy chases that division is suddenly these skirmishers here that are largely protected from that cav, I see a couple guys running through, they are now shooting the enemy in the back. You can actually see the darts, you can see the javelins now hitting the enemy in the back over there. So I'm going to continue to move my units back here. This is the 1st and 4th in the center, and you see the Sturgians are sort of haplessly charging, trying to catch up to them, but they're holding their shields up. Because they're holding their shields up, they move slower, and that's one of the critical parts of it. So I continue to move this 1st and 4th back, and eventually what we're going to do is we're going to attack the enemy with all these units. But you can see now, my skirmishers are completely behind the enemy. At this stage, it's time to attack. We're going to attack with the infantry. That's the 1st division. They're told to charge. The skirmishers are physically moving towards the enemy because we're going to have them attack as well. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to attack with the archers. So the enemy is now swallowed up. You can actually see the green just swallowing up the blue on all 3 sides. And of course, we're suffering losses. That's inevitable. But you can now see that the Allied forces have wrapped around. Look at this big tranche of guys bearing down on the enemy, right? The enemy at this stage is fucked. They are totally surrounded. In addition to being softened up at the beginning, now they're getting surrounded, and their units pretty much dissolved. That was pretty much all there was to it. Now you still have to deal with the enemy archers, right? They have 150 archers out there, but at this stage we have at least twice as many troops as they do in this battle. We also still have some heavy cav. You can see them over there on the left. Their infantry, though, is gone, and that was the strength of this unit. They had like 300 and something infantry, and it's just vaporized. This is the last guy. He's over here dutifully blocking javelins, avoiding every life attempt that I make on him. And this battle is basically over. The enemy archers are out there still. They haven't effectively routed, but anybody who's played Bannerlord at all knows that this battle, for all intents and purposes, is over. So people watching, you might be saying, well, everybody knows Britannia has really good archers, right? And that's true. They have some of the best archers in the game. But we're going to also do this same demonstration, and we'll use the Imperials against the Sturgias, right? We'll use a similar setup, in fact, almost identical setup, and we will show you how effective it is. Alright, so we've reloaded it. We're going to try this now playing as Imperials. Now we have more archers, but you can see each side has all of the unit trees. It's not like we're giving one side lousy units. Both sides have everybody but the recruits. We don't want these total scrubs in here. And again, they have about the same number of troops. So this is going to look like a mirror image of the first. I don't blame you if you're not watching, but this is just sort of proof for anybody playing the Imperials who said, well, I can't do that because it just doesn't work as well as with Britannia. I'm essentially going to show you that if you use kiting effectively, it can be devastatingly powerful. Now, one of the keys to kiting, of course, is to understanding troop movement, troop speed, and being, as a battlefield commander, able to juggle your units. You know, I hesitate to call this complete novice beginner tactics because, of course, if you're brand new to the game, it's probably overwhelming. You're probably getting killed by looters or speared off your horse. You know, the first guy that charges you, looking for your button to block the guy, right? I understand brand new players probably are not comfortable pulling off kiting like this. But for you who are starting to get more comfortable, starting to get more experience, but you're not comfortable controlling 7-8 units in battle, I think this is still up to your speed. Again, this should look very similar, right? We've got the second cav on the right. It's our right flank, or excuse me, it's our left flank, and we have the third cav on the other side. Now I'm going to use this little hill here. I've got a little short, shallow hill here with the 6th Division, kind of put them up on this elevation. Anytime you can take advantage of elevation, as I've explained in other episodes, you definitely want to. Now this episode I plan on kiting a lot more, a lot deeper. Effectively, you're sort of running away from the enemy, but it's not what it sounds. It's not what it seems like. It's not like you're running for the hills in a retreat. It's a tactical retreat. It's a feint retreat. You know, you're feinting weakness to lure the enemy in. So the enemy's bearing down on us again. I expect them to enter shield wall again very soon. In fact, there they go. You can see them closing ranks. Their archers are over here trying to get the jump on us. But that's another huge advantage of kiting. As their infantry moves in, we're going to move back. I just moved the infantry back. In fact, this battle, I'm going to move our units back faster earlier in the battle. I'm also going to counter-charge with cav. This cav division that's coming up on us, we're going to charge. So I'm charging here at the 3rd. And that's basically going to somewhat occupy the enemy cav. Now you can see the enemy infantry is bearing down. It's nice bright blue, right? We're going to be able to watch them very clearly. And again, I'm moving the skirmishers behind them. Now, they don't like that, right? They're coming now at the skirmishers with their shields up. But the thing is if they come approach the skirmishers, we'll just move them back, right? The idea with kiting, as long as you, the battlefield commander, are able to be aware of your units If they charged over to our skirmishers here, we'd simply move them up the hill. Right? So they're still being pounded by archers. So we're going to move these archers even further back. And again, what I was saying earlier, I want to finish the point. One of the benefits of kiting is we're making the enemy archers effectively a non-factor in the battle. Right? Look at their archers are way over there. We're actually going to pull our skirmishers over this hill. I'm just waiting for the enemy to chase after our units even further, right? The enemy's just bearing in like a rabid dog. Now, if they charge the skirmishers here, we'll peel back, right? I'm watching. They head towards the skirmishers. We move these guys back a little bit. The idea is to have about 50 to 100 units of distance between you and the enemy, if you can. Again, so we're going to continue to kite, just in an extreme version of this. Now, I'm offsetting the infantry from the archers here, again, because I want the enemy surrounded. You can now see how fucked the enemy is. I now have archers and skirmishers up on this hill, so they'll be shooting down on the enemy. I still have an infantry block over there ready to attack them. And these archers here on the enemy's left flank are just hammering them at point blank. Again, the enemy is really in a bad situation. They're starting to form almost a square, but this is basically their doom here. They're like the fish ball where the dolphins eat them all in the nature channel. These sturgeons are fucked. So we just sent our cav in. You notice their archers, of course, are nowhere in sight, right? Because we've been running effectively away from them. Now we're going to attack with the skirmishers, and then finally we're going to bring our archers in as well. Their archers are pounding with arrows, though, so in this case I'm actually just going to leave the archers shooting for a while. So they're enveloped by purple, right? You see blue just getting swallowed up in there. The one side they're not really being enveloped while they're still being shot. You can just hear the arrows and crossbows just hammering anybody. Look at that guy's getting pelted, and it's a total massacre. The enemy is just getting destroyed at this stage. The screen is all green. The enemy is just vaporized. And again, just like the first battle, the enemy has infantry here, or excuse me, the enemy has archers here that have yet to be dealt with. But this battle is over. Right? We have 80% at least of our forces survived, and that's all the forces that the enemy have. We have more archers than the enemy has, and we have infantry and cavalry. This battle is, for all intents and purposes, over. It might even be routing. In real life, a real opponent would rout. This would be the equivalent of the handshake in a chess match where you just took all their pieces, and even though it's technically not over, this match is over. All they have is archer support. They're being chased down by heavy horse. We have more archers than them, and we still have a very large infantry block. Right? I think we'll play this one out. I'll have my units come in just to formally kill these guys. I'm having the cav charge as my infantry and archers move up. But just to talk a little bit more about kiting. One of the biggest things with kiting is just understanding distances. If you can see that the enemy's bearing down on units, and of course you can remember which units they are, that's critical, you can then move those units back, anticipating effectively that the enemy is going to reach your units, right? That's probably one of the most critical skills in kiting. You have to be able to anticipate that the enemy is going to be bearing down on your units. You don't want to move them when the enemy is actually on your units. If you start to pull your units away while they're being attacked by infantry, the results will be very unpleasant. What will happen is the enemy infantry, they will be slashing and stabbing your guys in the back. You want the enemy to be out of swords range, right? Realistically, you want 10 or 15 feet in between them, because those small distances get closed on very quickly if the enemy charges. So it really comes down to understanding your distances, to kiting. Of course, you have to have a good understanding of the battlefield and where people are and where you are. But that really is all there is to it. And it's devastatingly effective even in the late game against the computer. So this is a skill you want to learn. Of course, you can implement even more tactics into it. You can attack with cav from behind. You can actually encircle the enemy with skirmishers and archers. It's a really devastating attack. Check out a few of my other videos. I think one of them's called Know Your Enemy, where we just absolutely explode a huge Sturgian force the same way. This is something that new players, new commanders definitely want to learn. It's very high in the tactics that are dominating in Bannerlord, and it's something, if you haven't tried this and you're an experienced player, it gives my hearty recommendation as one of the most important tactics to use in the game. Now there are a couple of little caveats here. To properly kite, you really should have a good amount of ranged units. If you have mostly infantry and cavalry, well, you have no business kiting, right? You should just be trying to bear down on the enemies to come to grips with them, right? Not kiting. But if you have lots of archers and or skirmishers, you can have this kind of a devastating result. You can see 36% of our troops are still alive. So thanks for watching, friends. I hope you enjoyed this episode. More to come in the future, and I'll talk to you, friends, next time.